Welcome to the deep dive. We take complex stuff, try to cut through the noise, and, distill it for you. Today, we're plunging into something, well, pretty remarkable. It's a new AI that they say can predict human decisions, maybe even before we consciously make them. Our focus is an article, Centaur, AI that predicts your next move. It's by Hadra, who's a clinical psychology research scholar, published by ASMAT July 7, 2025. So our mission today, figure out how this AI, Centaur, actually works, why it's such a big deal, and honestly, what it means for how we understand ourselves, our own behavior. Now, usually when we talk AI, it's all performance graphs, maybe benchmarks, or, large language models writing stuff. But Centaur feels different. Its unique thing isn't just broad capabilities, it's modeling that messy, sort of improvisational way humans make choices.
Yeah, it's not trying to predict the stock market. Centaur is designed to forecast specific little actions, like what button you'll click next, which lever you pull, what you guess, even what you remember in the standard psychology lab tasks. It's kind of mind-bending to think about.
It really is. And what's so interesting about Centaur is where it came from. It was almost a simple idea, really. The basic concept was take a huge language model, feed it a massive archive of real data from human experiments, and then just ask it to recreate the choices people actually made in those studies. So they put together this core data set, they call it Psych 101. And it's quite something. It's got 160 different transcribed studies, the classic stuff, slot machine gambling tasks, logic puzzles, memory drills, that kind of thing. But the really innovative part was how they converted all that traditional cognitive science data into natural language. So each trial, each little step in an experiment got written out as text. And the person's actual answer, they wrapped it in brackets. So you might read something like, you see slot machines B and C. You press B. Simple as that. And technically speaking, they were pretty efficient. They didn't have to train some enormous model completely from scratch. Instead, they took Llama 3.1 and attached these things called low-rank adapters. You can think of them as like small specialized add-ons. And they just tuned it for one epoch.
Which just means a single run-through of that whole Psych 101 data set. Very efficient for the kind of results they got.
Okay, wow. So efficient training, unique data, and that led to some, pretty stunning outcomes, right? After this training, Centaur's accuracy apparently just shot up. It could predict what participants would do even if it hadn't seen their specific data before, and it could even generalize to totally new tasks it wasn't trained on. But this is the part that really gets me. It doesn't just predict the behavior, it actually mirrors fMRI patterns in the brain. They call it a blend of behavioral fidelity and neural alignment. And that just feels like it pushes predictive AI somewhere totally new. It's not just, getting the right answer, but seemingly getting it, almost like a human would.
That's exactly the point. That neural alignment piece is profoundly significant because it suggests Centaur isn't just copying the final outcome, the decision itself. It seems to be aligning with the actual patterns of brain activity that underlie those decisions. It hints at a much deeper capture of the cognitive process involved. It's not just a black box spitting out the right prediction. There seems to be some structural similarity to how our own brains might be working when we make that choice.
Right. So, okay, if you're listening to this, what does that tell you about how humans behave? If an AI can mimic our choices so closely and even line up with brain activity, does that mean our own messy, seemingly spontaneous thinking is, more predictable than we thought? And the source article makes a point here, which I think is really crucial for understanding this. The difference between predictive AI, like Centaur, and generative AI.
Exactly. That's a key distinction. Think about generative AI, tools like ChatGPT or image generators. Their job is to create something new. Text, pictures, code. They invent stuff. But Centaur is fundamentally predictive. Its whole purpose is to forecast behavior that's already happening or about to happen based on patterns it learned. It's not making up a new decision for you. It's trying to anticipate the decision you're actually going to make.
Okay. So one anticipates, the other creates.
Precisely. And that distinction has totally different implications, right, for how we think about human agency, but also just how we might use this kind of tech.
Okay, so let's just quickly recap this deep dive then. Centaur really stands out. It's got this unique knack for predicting human behavior by modeling the nuances, the messy bits of our decision making. It's fueled by this huge, very specific data set from psychology labs, Psych 101. And maybe most mind-bendingly, it even seems to mirror specific brain activity patterns. It really feels like a significant step, maybe, in understanding how our minds work and how even complex choices might be modeled.
Which leads us to the big question to chew on, really. If an AI can predict our clicks, our guesses, our memories, and even align with our brain patterns while we're doing it, what does that reveal about the actual mechanics of human choice? Does it mean that our messy improvisational reasoning is actually maybe surprisingly predictable deep down? Or does it just show how incredibly sophisticated our modeling tools have become, how good we're getting at simulating it? It really raises a fundamental question for you, the listener, to think about. What does this mean for the future relationship between our own intuition and AI's predictive power? Where does one end and the other begin?